Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, welcome. We are so glad you're here today. And if you're watching on the replay, hello as well. Either way, please do feel free during the course of our time together today to drop comments, questions, reflections in the chat. And if you're watching this down the road, same goes for you. We circle back to see if there are questions. And then I'll share just right off the bat that if you feel like you are on an island in your AI journey, over the course of this next 50 minutes or so, you're going to meet 3 new friends. We are here and interested in connecting and supporting you in your journey. So know that you now have at least 3 people who are going on the same journey that you are and who would take your call or a DM any day, anytime. We're here to support you. My name is Ann Murphy. I am the founder and CEO of Empowered Fundraiser Consulting, and She Leads AI. I am going to call up our mission to share with everybody what we do and a little bit about how we do it. Our mission is to unite accomplished women to advance AI for global prosperity. And I love this mission statement. And um, it has the advantage of being completely true and authentic. This is what we do. A couple of ways we do that is through our AI Academy, which is external facing education for women. We have everything from AI leadership boot camps to writing intensives to our brand new cohort course, which is a certified AI educator training program where you will have an internship working with a global nonprofit that supports emerging women leaders in poor countries in their own journey with responsible AI. So that's our academy. We also have a membership community called the She Leads AI Society, and we are hosted on Mighty Network, so we can network all day, all night, all time zones where our members live, and we can share resources, share our daily social media posts, um, get unstuck. We can share pictures of our pets in our awe channel. And then we also have a really active events and media program. So we bring women in AI together every single Saturday, period, rain or shine. And we tackle topics like AI in childhood or monetizing your AI expertise or AI in personal branding is this weekend. There's always something that folks can orient around. We can have deep discussions. People bring their own lived experience, their own research, their failures and their triumphs, knowing that there are not enough days, weeks, months, years in our lifetime for all of us to make our own mistakes and learn from them. So we learn from one another. Like I said, our triumphs and our challenges, and provide one another with a ton of moral support, which in this era is everything. So that's a little bit about She Leads AI. We have our upcoming inaugural conference, in-person conference, October 11th through 14th. We're very, very excited about that. We have final tweaks to the schedule. We have our whole menu planned out and it's going to be delicious. We have yummy snacks. I don't like going to conferences and being even a little bit hungry. So we're feeding everybody well. I'm just projecting my own feelings onto our whole entire um, group of joiners, and we're going to have delicious food. We'll have opportunities to learn from one another, of course, and we will get to know our co-conspirators who we will go on after this conference and launch things with. An accountability pod, create a platform together, form a subgroup, who knows, right? Um, and the goal of the Create Conference is that it's really a turning point. So right now, wherever you are in your journey, that this conference will help you get to the other side so that 2026 is a big year of implementation, execution for you, as well as new streams and new levels of income. So that's a little bit about what we're up to. And I am delighted, like I said, that you're here. I can't wait for you to hear from our guests, my colleagues today, who are both deep into not only their own AI journey, but layering that on top of 20 and 30 years of subject matter expertise. And that's like the magical combination. Taking your subject matter expertise, layering in AI, and all of a sudden you're able to provide your clients with the best work product ever, no matter how good you are right now at what you do for your clients. You'll be better, even better, when you implement AI. You will also contain costs, and you'll be able to get a little more spaciousness in your life. And that might mean you're finally able to explore some of the work-related things that you wanted to explore, or it might mean spending more time with your family. It might mean, you know, the thing that we talk about that probably really doesn't exist, of work-life balance. So both of our guests today have that experience of adding AI into their subject matter expertise. So I'm excited to share that with you. I think with that, I'll bring him on. I think that's all the preamble that I wanted to offer. What's that? Oh, sorry. My husband was considering delivering some coffee to me. Very important. So welcome, Christina. Welcome, Marcia. I'm so glad you're here.
Hello.
Glad to be here.
So the first thing that I like to ask everybody for some level setting is about your relationship with AI. And it's sort of an open-ended question on purpose. And while you're sharing that with the audience, if you can give us a little bit of your bio, what you're up to right now, and how you work with people, that would be great. And I thought I would kick it over to Christina first.
Sure. Hi, I'm Christina Rava. So what my business is about is I help coaches and service providers to build businesses around their expertise. So like Anne said, a lot of the people I work with have a lot of times decades of experience in a certain area, but a lot of times it's through a corporate role or as an educator, and they're looking for ways to build an online solopreneur business where they're packaging and monetizing their expertise. So I typically help them in three ways. One is building an audience. So if you want to have a business, you need people to sell to. So I help people figure out how to do that, identify their ideal clients, get them to pay attention, create content that's useful to them, and ultimately create offers to sell to them. So that's the first part, creating an audience. The second part is figuring out what to sell, because a lot of the people I work with are multi-passionate. They have a great skill set, but it's kind of, they can do a lot of different things. So we need to figure out how to dial it in and how to figure out exactly what to offer that would be the best fit and the most profitable in terms of selling to your audience. And then the third thing is launching that offer. Mm-hmm. So how do you introduce it to the world? How do you market it and sell it? How do you create systems that do the heavy lifting for you when it comes to marketing and selling your offers? So when I first started using AI, I imagine it was like similar to most other people's experience. It was all about prompts, right? So I created a little mini course called ChatGPT for Course Creators. Nice. And it was just basically like a collection of prompts that you could use to come up with the content for an online course, which is something that I help a lot of my clients do to create and sell a course. But over time, the way that it evolved was, and this is both within my own business and what I help my clients do, is take a more personalized approach. So First, like figuring out what are the bottlenecks in your business and how can you use AI to address those bottlenecks? How can you use it to work more efficiently, to have more streamlined systems in your business? I really like what Anne just said about creating more spaciousness in your life. And that's kind of now what I'm doing with my clients, is figuring out how to come up with a lot more specific personalized use cases with AI to take what they've already been doing and just do it faster, do it better, have more leverage in their business. And also the other thing that I work with my clients a lot is how to use AI to serve their clients better, to create a better client experience where their clients feel more supported. They have access to better resources. They have, better ways of serving and supporting their clients. So those are the main ways that I've been using AI, and I've been helping my clients to use AI.
I love it. So, hopefully this won't put you too much on the spot, Christina, but Christina shared some of her wisdom around exactly what she just said. Like, what are the steps to get this thing off the ground? And resounding feedback was, oh my gosh, you made that so clear. That's the first time I've ever seen it articulated so clearly. And Christina, I need to give you the testimonials because it was just a reiteration of that theme of just taking something that causes like almost immediate cognitive overload for so many people because it's so personal. You're so close to it. And then you're trying to layer new stuff. And I was working on my own website this morning and just like, just can't. I can do anyone else's website. Doing mine is just like, the worst.
Yeah.
So yeah, you really have a gift for making it plain, and people definitely appreciated that.
Thank you. That's nice to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Marcia, tell us about your journey with AI and tell us about you in all flows and flavors.
Well, I'm that multi-passionate, multi-hyphenate person that Christina was just talking about. And I think part of my job is to try to make things clearer to other people also. I'm a law professor. I'm not sure if I make things clearer or not, but that's my goal, right? I'm also a practicing lawyer, so I've got to make things clearer to clients. I'm a general counsel of a company and as well as some nonprofits. And then I'm also an executive coach, and I work with mainly lawyers, law firms, professional services people, nonprofit executive directors, entrepreneurs, and basically high achievers and high stress roles who feel like they can't fail and who feel like they know everything. So AI, then when you bring AI into that, right, it is a huge shift for them because now there's something that either may know more than them or they may not. And that level of uncertainty is very difficult. I think my relationship with AI is similar to my relationship with technology in general. I am not a person that can build things. I still can't build a GPT, and I don't want to learn. That's not my goal, right? But for years, when I was an in-house lawyer at a large company, I was the chief privacy officer. So I was constantly dealing with our IT people and the vendors, et cetera. So for me, it was important to understand how do things work so I can prevent problems going forward. So before people were talking about blockchain, I was looking at that. And I was, and by the way, of course, when you say AI, it's been around for, 60 years. So it's not like it's a new thing. But as we look at what people are mostly talking about, generative AI or AGI or super intelligence or those kinds of things, I probably became more interested in that a few years ago. And interestingly, I was asked to do a keynote from Microsoft in Lisbon. They had a 2-day conference called Building the Future. It was 1 or 2 days. And I was supposed to talk about human rights and technology. And this was January 2023. ChatGPT came out in November 2022. And so I was talking about the good, the bad, the ugly. And I started talking about generative AI. And I said, here's what I worry about. I worry about 5 things. I said, but these other things could happen. And then I went on with all the other issues related to technology. The day before, OpenAI had announced their $10 billion investment from Microsoft. So, and the strange thing is, when I got off the stage, I heard a lot of people saying, this is going to come and take my job, isn't it? I said, yeah, it's going to take my job too, though. So it's just a matter of time. Right? So we're all in this together.
We're all, exactly.
So when I think about my relationship with AI, it is a somewhat healthy relationship. I understand the limitations and the tremendous potential, and I really try to focus getting my law students on understanding how to use it in a way that's going to augment what they do as opposed to replace what they do. Same thing with skeptical lawyers who are terrified, and same thing with coaches, you know, about all of us, any of us that knows anything, probably anybody who's listening here, life is going to change in some way. And I try to make that less scary and help people get more prepared.
Okay, I love that. I heard a quote the other day, and I don't know if it's a famous quote or what, but it was participation is the antidote to fear. There are so many reasons to be fearful. And I'm, you know, even though our jobs are to help people implement AI, we still lose sleep over the ethics, right? Over the downside of it. It's just that we're oftentimes even paid, right, to get the deliverable is get people to use AI. The deliverable is not tell them all the reasons why they shouldn't want to use AI. Reality is that we are completely aware and attuned and in fact anxious about, not to put words in your mouths, but I know you well enough that, you know, there's anxiety around what might this technology do to the things about our lives that we love, the people who we love, right? The global health and wellness that we care about and that we put our own energy into on a regular basis. So we see these things at risk. And what's interesting to me is how this is like evidence of the both and era, where it is sublime and it also is terrifying. It's both things. And I'd be curious.
I'll give an example though of that.
Yes.
And you know, I put it on a post on LinkedIn when I talked about what we're doing today. You know, I've been retained as a consultant with one of the large global tech companies. There's 7 big ones. It's one of them, and to help make sure the models get things right legally. So I'm part of a team of lawyers, and we're basically retraining the models to make sure they get things right. 2 things can happen. Number 1, I am training the AI models so that very few lawyers will have anything to do in the future. So training us out of existence. Or I think it's helping access to justice so that humanity can get good legal advice from the internet and from AI models that they're not getting right now. And so I had to balance, like, this is an existential threat to me.
Yes.
On the other hand, I can go on, you know, I have all the access to all the legal tools I need, and I've got 30 years practicing. The person who's the business owner, who is, you know, can't afford a lawyer and is going to go on ChatGPT, nothing wrong with ChatGPT or any of the other ones, is not going to get complete information. They might get some information that's accurate, but it's not complete. So part of what I'm doing and others, and by the way, all the AI companies are now hiring doctors, physicists, mathematicians, electricians. So what does this mean? A few years from now, these models are going to be really good and they're going to be right. And we're not going to be so worried about hallucinations. And that leads to then what are we going to do? And so that is that both and tension you were talking about.
Absolutely. I love that you are in that arena. That gives me peace of mind. I do not. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy when I looked at the other lawyers. I'm like, wow, these people are some heavy hitters. Or when I was on the call with like, there was a cohort like, I'm a cardiothoracic surgeon. Should I be citing the such and such study that just came out yesterday? And I'm like, good. These are the people training AI now. Thank goodness. That's what I want to see.
I
so like
love it.
Like a subreddit, which is basically what we're seeing now.
Yeah, exactly. Christina, how are your clients presenting with fear versus participation in the AI journey?
I've heard some, you know, some of what you were talking about, you know, fear that AI is going to kind of replace them entirely. But the thing that I hear come up more often for the people I work with is a risk of being generic, and like if they leverage AI, they're afraid of kind of like watering down their message and the thing that they offer. And I feel like that is a legitimate concern because a lot of the people I work with, basically they have personal brands.
Yes.
They
That's
are
their
their
brand.
business, you
Yeah.
know? They're
Yeah.
selling their they're selling offers that are based on their personal expertise, their own the experience that they've lived, not only that they have taught, but that they've lived themselves, you know? And so they wanna use AI, like, you know, for efficiency and profitability, but they're also afraid that AI is going to make them kind of like blend in with the crowd and not have that voice, which is really like the reason that they started their business to begin with. Most of the people I work with that have coaching programs or courses, they really have a very heart-centered mission. They want to be able to help the people who are struggling with a problem that they themselves once experienced, you know? Um, and they want to share their personal experience and what worked for them, the process or the signature method that worked for them, and they want to like communicate that they're really in tune with their ideal clients like concerns and questions and pain points, and they're afraid if they use AI that they'll just kind of have a little bit less of a unique voice online.
I mean, everything is skewed toward the middle, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And for those of us who are very voicey, I think it is very likely that AI would strip our words, or at least you can feel the AI under it, right? It's not the same as when you are using your very own words. That said, by the time I like wordsmith some of the things that I put in my branding, it's like unrecognizable in my exact voice.
Mhm.
And also, like, I might have imposter syndrome and go, "Well, I mean, those people over there are saying it like this, and so maybe I should do it like this." So, at the end of the day, I'm not entirely sure. It depends on the use case, but I'm not entirely sure that I'm not at fault for stripping my voice out of some of my branding.
That's really true. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Like, I've done that a little bit with my emails. You know, I'm really big at on email marketing, and I feel like, you know, I use AI and then I like edit it, you know, to make it sound more like me. But then part of me is like, well, why didn't I just write this, you know,
Yes, yeah,
on my
yeah,
own to begin with, you know? Because now I have this like edited AI version of like what I would have, you know, written
yep.
in my own voice before AI came around.
I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Marcia, as well. I dropped into the chat. This is the prompt that I use to analyze. You take like 3 or 4 samples of if you write white papers or if you want your email newsletter to sound a particular way, like I think that's where voiciness comes out a lot. If you have, when you write your emails to colleagues that sound like they come from the State Department versus when you're emailing one of your besties, right?
Mhm.
So you take like 3 or 4 samples, you load them into ChatGPT, and you drop this prompt in there, and it'll analyze your writing style based on like, I don't know, 50 different criteria or something. And that will give you a prompt to use in the future for a project that you want to get closer on the first or second try. You're always going to need to. But
Mhm.
one of the things it allows you to do, which has been really helpful to me, is it allows you to add in what I call sacred words. These are the things that I say that make me me.
Mhm.
And they're not grammatical, right? They're not, it's okay. This is not, I can end a sentence in a preposition. Thank you very much. I'm a grown up. Don't tell me I can't do that.
I'll let Mrs. Morrow from my 5th grade class tell you, like, I still remember her, like,
Same.
and the
Same.
name and
Mrs.
everything.
Trojanowski. Yes. Yeah, yeah. I'm so defiant, so Gen X rebel. I'm gonna end a sentence in a preposition. At any rate, that helps. But it's still not perfect. You know what I mean? You still have to have an attachment to the words.
Mhm.
And before I kick it over to you, Marcia, I'm going to share another example of why this is so important. I posted yesterday on LinkedIn about this, but so many of my clients are at this point where their organization is just now saying, here's the AI tool that is the only one you're going to use. And typically it's Copilot. Sometimes it's Gemini, but everybody else has built their whole entire like magnificent ecosystem, typically inside ChatGPT, maybe inside Claude, but for most of our clients, it's going to be ChatGPT. And now we're asking them to do that while they're still in the middle of figuring out how to use the tool for collaboration. So one of the things that's happening is they're all sending ChatGPT outputs to each other, which will be the same thing with Copilot, and no one knows what the other people actually think because they can't stand behind the words because they didn't write it.
Mhm.
So it's different. And now we have to when we're doing like, a campaign case statement or something for a client, we can't send them, questions for them to respond to anymore. We have to, because they'll use ChatGPT, and we cannot write a strategic plan on your ChatGPT output. So anyway, that's my rant about that. Marcia, what's your experience? Because you are a writerly person and have to do a lot of different types of writing. And I'm sure the people you work with are in the same boat.
Well, I've done the same thing that you've done in terms of
Mhm.
training. And I've now trained them all because at any given time, by the way, so with my relationship, I have, I have a main one and I've got some side pieces, right? So my main one is going to be is ChatGPT, the main one, and then I also always have Claude, Perplexity, Notebook LM,
Yes.
and increasingly looking at Meta and other just because I want to see. But I have trained. I would say I picked my 10 top performing LinkedIn posts, certain things from my academic writing, certain things from my
Mhm.
newsletter, all kinds of other things. And then I'll have it do that. I haven't seen the Google Doc, but I've had it done that same analysis. And then sometimes I'll, get in little arguments like, remember the analysis? You remember you're not supposed to
Oh
use
my
these words?
God.
Why are you doing this? And then we'll have a fight. So it really is, it's like a whole thing. And then I did this morning. I was like, do I need to go talk to Claude? Because I feel like I'm not getting what I need from you. And I'm like, okay, this is not healthy. Like, why am I having this
That's what
whole
I said to mine.
but I
I said,
know that I'm not the only person, right? And
yeah,
that goes to, but the thing is, and then I sat there and said, why don't I just flip and write it myself and then just say polish it up, right? And I think a lot of us are getting into that phase. Now, there's different things. Like that's if I'm trying to do writing about me, etc. As a lawyer, there's only so many ways you say certain things, right?
yes, yes.
And but I do require my students to use AI. They have to understand the underlying um, topic,
Hmm.
obviously the substantive law.
Hmm.
But no client is going to expect you to sit there and do things from scratch, especially when AI is there. But I say, think about the client memo. You can use AI to draft the client memo, but are you writing to Manny from Manny's Bakery or are you writing to the general counsel of Amazon? Very different tone, right?
Very
And
different.
because
Yes.
if you're a law student and you've never written to either of those kind of people, right? You can sit there and try to kind of see, but have it work with tone. So part of that
Yes.
and part of working with clients is really helping them understand the different kinds of communication styles and types, whether it's, chain of thought prompting, all the different kinds of things. But I really worry about over dependence when
Hmm.
it comes to writing and
Hmm.
thinking through things. You could do a strategic plan using AI, but you'd have to get some really strong inputs. And I think the problem is a lot of people in every profession are going with the first input or the second input they get, and
Oh
like,
yeah.
good enough. Now I can go, catch up on things I haven't been watching on TV or whatever it is.
Mhm.
And it takes work. And if we think about,
Yeah.
again, using it, again, the augment as a partner, as a
Mhm.
thought partner, as
Mhm.
opposed to something that's going to be the writer,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Mhm.
As an editor, as a thought partner, as a writing partner versus the author, I think that will help us. But so many of us have gotten so lazy now that we're like, oh my gosh, I have to. Meanwhile, a year ago, you were writing all your own stuff. And now you're
Mhm.
upset because ChatGPT has timed out or Claude, you don't have enough tokens and that kind of stuff. And I think we've all gotten to that point.
Mhm.
I agree. I agree absolutely. One of the things I have people do who are, they're I can empathize with the AI doesn't represent my writing, my voice. I get that and I experience that. But when people tell me that AI can't write like their brand, and I go look at their website, there's nothing. So I have them write, before we go through anything else, I have them write down, describe the voice of your brand. Like I challenge you to come up with something that seems unique, right? You could say it's clear. Well, all brands attempt to have clear communications, right? It's what? It's has Gen X humor. It's for Gen Z. I mean, yeah, to some extent, but I do think sometimes we over-index like what this thing is. I think it's something that as AI gets better, we're all going to appreciate it very, very much when we're collaborating with people. That is going to be wonderful. So, the next thing I wanted to explore is from a couple of different zones of genius or genres where you pay attention, where you have particular subject matter expertise. What are the AI trends that you're paying attention to? What's like coming down, like, do you care about Sorrow 2? Were you scrambling last night to get a code to be able to demo it? Or are you paying attention to whatever's going to drop in October? I don't know. Some of the models are dropping something in October. It's supposed to be a whole bunch of things dropping before the end of the year, like last year. Anyway, what are you paying attention to trend wise?
Mm-hmm. And you mean about with like kind of platforms and technology?
Anything like, you could be paying attention to legislation around children, what matters to you?
Mm-hmm. I would say like for me and the people I work with, the thing that they're paying the most attention to is kind of coming up with tools that they can use in their business, both for internal functions and also with their clients that can be personalized. So a lot of coaches and course creators that I work with are really interested in custom GPTs and automations and things like coaching clones, like basically things that they can build that are trained on a certain process that they follow or a certain process that they help their clients to go through. And it's a signature, a signature system or a signature process that's built specifically for their business or specifically for their clients, like the things that the clients need to go through in order to achieve a certain kind of transformation or solve a certain problem. So like in my space, in the online course and coaching space, I think that's probably the thing that people are working on right now is taking what they already offer and then, or what they already do behind the scenes, and then layering in the custom GPTs and like coaching clones and systems into their client facing offers as well.
At what point in the client journey are they introducing a digital twin?
I actually have seen it offered in very early on, actually, as a lead generator.
Yeah.
So sometimes people have like they use it, they create a digital twin and they offer it for free in order to get to answer questions and to get people to sign up for an email list or to sign up for a discovery call, but then I've also seen it at the other end of the client journey where people have a digital twin embedded inside their course, their coaching program, or their membership. And it's not, and it shouldn't be there to replace the coach or the expert themselves. It should be there, I think, to support the clients in between sessions, to help them with accountability, to help them with maybe finding the right resources that they need, or figuring out where to go if they're stuck with something. So the digital twins can be at that end of the client journey as well.
I love that. I am obsessed with learning from everybody else. Christina, I think your mic might be. Do you have a mic where your hand is rubbing against it or something? Or maybe it's not you, Marcia, is it? Okay, there might be something scratching. Anyway, so this is something that I've been super curious about. I now, at the risk, no shade to any of my clients, but I always provide a Gamma, because of course we're all obsessed with Gamma, a Gamma site with, their lessons, their, the recording, the transcript, the, to-do items, a playbook, some prompts or prompt framework, all this stuff. And on Gamma, you can track how many people have clicked and how many sections they looked at. And this is what has been fascinating to me is they hardly ever access it. There are a few people who go to town on it, and then like the other 90% are just like, and I don't know why, and I don't know if that transfers over to how they would engage with a digital twin if I made one, because I could put all this stuff in a digital twin. I feel like I need a GPT to make people use my GPT.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in learning from you and your clients, Christina, like, are they accessing it between meetings?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any chance this is something that we think is cool, but they don't care about?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, my people are still in like the early stages of like exploring the idea of having a digital twin, like kind of weighing pros and cons and what would be involved in setting that up. But I think what you're saying with regard to people not using the things that you've created on Gamma is kind of like this universal trend that we see with online courses and
Online
memberships
courses.
in
Yes.
general. People pay sometimes thousands of dollars to access a course, or they're in a membership with a recurring monthly fee, and there are all these resources available to them to use. And you can, in most platforms, you can see the number of times somebody's logged in, or you can track their progress. And a lot of times people don't even log in, never mind watch the videos, never mind download the resources, or they pay for a membership that has like weekly coaching calls and they don't show up for the coaching.
Yeah.
So that's a big stumbling block with people who have digital offers, is how to get their clients and their students to take advantage of all of these pretty advanced trainings and resources that are available to them that they paid for.
Yeah.
But do you think it's because people, they say they want the knowledge, they just want the answers and the results. And a lot of people don't, because I am one of those people who have spent a gazillion dollars on courses. And I'm like, I probably should log in, but I don't have the time. But I'm like, but this was important when I thought about it. So when I say I don't have the time, I don't make the time. And I'm wondering I think all of us are so desirous of learning the latest new thing so that we can get further faster, but then we don't do it. So we feel good that we bought it. I have it in my library. I can go look at any time. But let me just check. The morning show just started again on let me see what Reese and Jennifer are up to now, right? Let me go watch that. Let me relax my brain. I'll get back to that later. And then we don't. And then there's some shiny new object. Because I think part of people are just afraid to actually do more. Because if you have the knowledge, then you have to do something with it. You take that course about how to budget and how to be a day trader or whatever, then you got to do something with it. You take a course about how to build a course, then you're like, all right, now I have to implement. And so I think that is generally, universally, number one, we're getting bombarded with so much information, so many different things to do before AI became the thing, right? And now we feel like, now that AI might take my job one day, I better learn everything. And now I buy 5 new courses and then I'm exhausted. And our brains are just like, let's just stick with what's familiar to us. We already know this other stuff. So I think there's a combination of things, no matter where you are. I have so many different things. I'm going to get to that later. I got to look at that later. I've got a whole pile of things to look at later. And so I'm wondering what would happen if we all just, and this is terrible, stopped buying anything new for a little while until we finished going through, or we just made the cognitive decision of, you know what, I bought it, I'm never going to look at it, and relieve yourself of that guilt.
No guilt.
Just move on.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of
Yes.
us feel like, I'm supposed to look at the gamma, but I didn't. And I hope Anne doesn't notice that I didn't look at, so, and it's like a whole thing. All that time you could have been looking at the gamma and been done with
You
it.
could have just been looking at the gamma, decide,
Or
take what serves you.
I'm not doing it. And when we buy the course, we have to think about, what is the end goal for this? Why am I buying this? Is this really supposed to help me? And I think a lot of us buy things or sign up for courses or do things because we don't really know what our end game is. And we're thinking it's going to help us figure out what that end game is. And then we buy a lot of stuff that we don't need because we haven't really said, what is our actual end game? If you're a lawyer, why are you going to use AI? Are you going to, because let's look at AI and lawyers. A lot of great products are out there. A lot of firms bought them because we've got to be involved in AI. They didn't really think about culturally, is this what we need? What are we actually going to use it for? What systems do we already have in place that we maybe should just, maybe just do a pilot on this as opposed to getting this big fancy thing? And this is companies in general. And they're like, well, it doesn't work because you didn't do all the things that you needed to do to implement like you would with any other kind of change management process. So I think whether it's the individual, where we haven't done our own change management in what we think we're going to get from this course or this program, and the companies who bring in programs that haven't really had that multi-stakeholder conversation where they sit there and say, okay, IT, what do you think? HR, what do you think? Now, again, not every big company has all these different departments. You might be the department of you, right? But still, have you thought through, what am I actually going to use this for? What is my end goal? What data do I need? What data am I collecting? From a governance perspective, what am I going to do with this information and how am I going to make sure it's safe? How am I going to keep up with all the information? So and then, the ethical issues we talked about a little bit before. So there's so many different things that we don't think enough about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think though that there's, because of what you're saying, people have the best of intentions, right? But then when it comes time to actually learn the thing or do the thing, they're like, they're either already on to the next thing, or they say my week is busy this week, I'm going to wait till next week. And because of that, I think that with online courses specifically, the offers need to change, because it used to be about, they were about training videos and worksheets and things that were really time intensive. And I think now what's selling better is collections of tools, so a course now should be these teeny tiny little bite-size trainings, but more about a roadmap. This is the fastest path to follow to get to the end results. And here are AI tools that can make the process even faster for you, and I think if you communicate that in your positioning and your marketing, it'll sell better. So I used to teach people how to write a sales page for their course or their coaching program. And I would have a half an hour video on what makes a sales page convert. And then I would have a workbook where they would have to go through every element of the sales page and follow my prompts or my guidelines to write their sales page. And nobody wanted to do that. They wanted a high converting sales page, but they didn't want to go through the process. Now I've replaced my 30-minute video and my workbook with one custom GPT, that will take a few inputs from the person and spit out the sales page for them. And I think that, if you have those kinds of things within your program positioned as shortcuts, and you do a good job of marketing that a lot of the work is done for them, hopefully that'll encourage people to take advantage of the thing that they paid for.
Oh, that is such good insight.
I think this though goes to a bigger issue that, actually on a She Leads AI Social Saturday a couple of weeks ago, we were talking about just education in general. Because I think when you get to a certain stage, adults as we are, if we're buying a course, we're trying to buy it because we want to build on some knowledge that we already have. I worry about, when we're thinking about AI, going earlier with AI being in the elementary schools, in the junior schools, the colleges, right? I'm a professor who encourages our students to use AI, but I also see the lack of critical thinking that we have coming in. And so those students are also looking for the shortcut. In elementary school, in junior high, in middle school, like just write my paper. I spoke to a 16-year-old, like, I don't ever do the reading anymore. I get the assignment. I literally put that as the prompt. I turn out a perfect thing and I'm getting all A's. Why do I need to learn anything? And so if we have adults right now, where I think part of it is because we're just too busy, because we have too many things to do, we have too much choice. Like back in the day when I grew up,
Yes.
4 TV channels, like everybody's watching Gilligan's Island at the same time. Everybody knows how old I am now, right? Like they were like, and the thing is, and life was simpler, right? It wasn't that complicated. So the key is, do we have too much choice, which is just overloading our brains? So we're like, just another thing to do, to log on to Anne's thing or to Christina's thing. And then overlay that with the generation that's coming up, the new students, the new clients, the new lawyers, the new coaches, the new foundation heads. Are they going to have the critical thinking skills that they need to have the discernment for whatever it is that the AI product puts out?
Yes.
That's what I'm really worried about. So we have already a shortcut mentality. Just give me the checklist, give me the tool, do it for me. And I'm all about a checklist and a tool. Trust me, I love it. Right. But I also have, 57 years of lived experience where I can have some discernment. Right. And that's where I worry about this next generation of people coming in to the workforce, to the school system, to coaching practices that will over rely on artificial intelligence checklists and tools at the expense of saying, I do think I need to understand the foundations before I augment. Again, it's the replace versus augment.
I think this is the challenge. I mean, or maybe I should say, like, this is epitomized by when ChatGPT 5 came out and there was another round of hype and, goofy rollouts and blah and buzz, and then, fights on X about it to just, like spin up the algorithm. So a whole bunch of new people came in at the time when the promise was that it's like really, 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 really good. Then we found out it wasn't actually all that great, but those users, I mean, depending on what criteria, right? But all of those users, the new ones, dropped in at 5, just off the rip. They're just using AI, no context. And so, because I've thought a lot about, is there an advantage to like waiting until things are less janky? Right. And then just dropping in at that point in time. And there have been days where I'm like, God, do I have to learn this? Because maybe I could just wait until it's better. So I can definitely relate to that. But I don't know at what point it really becomes detrimental to not have dabbled at least before you're using AI for prime time stuff, Okay, let's dive into I've got 2 different questions. Let me think which one I want to do. How about talk to us a little bit about collaboration and AI. Is there anything you've been surprised by? What opportunities are out there that people may not be taking advantage of? And, this could be, do they use Teams? But it could also be, like, for me, I met so many lovely people when I got into the AI world. And I was very surprised by that because I spent my life in STEM and we didn't have a lot of like feels, we couldn't even wave our hands around, right? And so anyway, I wanted to hear from your point of view about the general topic of collaboration and AI.
Well, I'm a big fan of collaboration in general. Like that's actually the number one way that I recommend that I've grown my own audience is by collaborating with other business owners, and that I it's a method that I share with my clients, like how to get in front of other audiences while you're building your own, get in front of other audiences in order to build authority and brand recognition and that kind of thing. And then I think when it comes to AI, like you were saying, and like there's just like it's evolving so quickly. There's so many platforms, and then it takes time to get up to speed on the learning curve, work through all the kinks, just stay on top of it, that I think collaboration is just going to become absolutely necessary.
Mhm.
Because there's no way any one of us can kind of be the expert on everything that our clients could potentially need us to know or need us to teach
Yeah.
them, you know? So I think finding collaboration partners that have expertise in an area that is aligned with yours, but not exactly
Mm.
the same thing. So for example, um, I work with coaches and course creators. I teach them how to build and sell offers, but I'm not like a website expert. So I might
Mm.
have a collaboration partner who is really good at helping people use AI to write website copy, you know? And so that's something that my clients would be interested in. And I can, refer them to that person, and then they could refer their people to me for help with using AI to build courses and coaching programs. Or I could have them as a guest. Like if I have a guest expert series, like on a podcast or in a membership or a coaching program, I could feature them as a guest expert and vice versa. So that's how I would use and view collaborations with AI.
Awesome. Awesome. How about you, Marcia?
Yeah, I'll go at the micro level and then more of a macro level. So from a micro level, I think being parts of groups, because you promote it in the preamble, but I'll do it again. Groups
Yeah.
like She Leads AI with the
Yep.
Social Saturday is really helpful because I think, especially for women, as a woman of color, you don't see as many groups. And this is not to be exclusionary to males, but in tech fields and in AI and others, sometimes you want to make sure you're not the only one.
Yeah.
All of us have probably been on, what's affectionately called a manel, basically a panel full of a bunch of men. You know what I mean? And it's different, right? The examples you might use are different. So number one, being part of a group of women that's an international group. I'm parts of other groups as well, but that we
Mhm.
just share ideas without competition. It's a
Yes.
collaboration without competition, and realizing the pie is really big.
Really
On a
big.
macro level, right? When I think of collaboration, what I'd want to see more of is collaboration between nations as it relates to what is the future of AI.
Yeah.
Um, some of you may have seen, depending on when they're watching the replay, a couple of days ago, Governor Newsom signed into law in California rules regarding AI safety for companies at above a certain level, right?
Yeah.
Are those companies going to leave California? They might, I doubt it, but they could. But
Right.
California is the fourth largest economy in the world, right? So when California does something, it makes a difference. And that's
Yeah.
because the United States government isn't going to do a federal one, but the EU
Exactly.
does AI.
Yeah.
China's working on AI. And just like climate change, if we're not all in it together,
Yeah.
it's really going to be a problem. And so when I think about collaboration, and I know there's the race to win the AI war, we also have to collaborate because it is similar to nuclear power, the one thing that could destroy us all, or the one
Yeah.
thing that could, or something that could save us all. So when I think of
Yeah.
collaboration, I think about, number one, like how can coaches barter with other people for, you build my GPT, I'll give you some free coaching things, so people can barter. Because
Mhm.
the other thing I
Mhm.
think that in the AI field,
Ooh.
especially small businesses, is people want AI, but they can't afford, the margins are so slim they can't afford it. So maybe collaborating through bartering services as well. So I
Yep.
think there's collaborations all the way through the value chain, pretty much.
Mhm.
I love that idea. It's another thing, it's another asset that we now have that became an asset because we poured our own knowledge into it and our own stick to itiveness and our own middle of the nights, right? And now we have this thing of value, whether it's our, yeah, whether it's our like fairly elite, level of expertise, particularly if you compare with other non-technical, not to put a label on it. I hate the word non-technical, but less technical, maybe less technical than the coders, etc. You guys, I didn't sleep well last night, and I just completely forgot my train of thought.
That's okay. That's okay.
Whatever. But the collaboration piece. So something that has come up for me that I can't figure out, maybe you two know, is when a company, when like an agency, for example, has a bunch of consultants, how do they get an enterprise account, which, holds all this possibility for collaboration, but then like the consultants are not employees, they need to retain separate stuff, but enterprise has the highest level of security, but everyone doesn't want to be, I don't know if it's called enterprise anymore. Yeah, it's called enterprise. Not everybody wants to pay $199 a month. So this aspect of collaboration has been really interesting to work through, in addition to ChatGPT Teams, which is now ChatGPT Business. The fact that people think going into it, they're going to participate together in working, and I've tried it a million times. There's just like, I don't know. There's no value add in being in the same chat with anybody. I just don't get anything out of it. But anyway, collaboration looks a lot of different ways. For me, it's been just such a treat to meet so many amazing people, with AI kind of being the foil character here. Yeah, it could have been knitting. I don't know, but it's AI. Well, I want to wrap it up by saying that you two are both going to be sharing even deeper dives from your zones of genius while we're in Salt Lake City. And I cannot wait for people to have access to your wisdom. We're going to change people's lives, I'm convinced. And that is what is so needed with women as we go forward. The opportunity to center is a strong word, but move towards centering women would be so good for our future. Do either share some, how about this, before we wrap up, share a tip for someone who hasn't yet gotten off the sidelines?
I mean, the thing that's always worked for me with AI, and even before AI, is the willingness to embrace imperfect action. Because the people, like, I work with a lot of people who have like really magnificent ideas for their business in their head, and they've been mulling it over for like years. And that's such a lost opportunity, both for themselves, but also for the people that they could potentially be serving. And, so I always say, like, you can have such greater impact, you can have faster progress, you could make more money if you're just willing to take that imperfect action. Because I think the biggest learning comes from experience, and not from, reading something online or attending the training. It's from living it. And the same thing comes from AI. Like, I've learned so much more from just like having those daily chats with ChatGPT than I have from any training that I've ever taken on ChatGPT.
Amen. How about you, Marcia? Any final words of wisdom for people who are still on the sidelines?
I'm going to agree and I'm going to disagree with what was just said. I do think some people need some structured course, because for somebody like me, I'll watch like 70 YouTube videos in a row, and I'll go to a bunch of things and I'll pick stuff up. Some people need like the LinkedIn learning, the Coursera, the free Google certificate, whatever those kinds of things are. But I would just be really specific and ask yourself, why are you learning this information? So you don't have A, the cognitive overload, and B, the I've got 15 courses to take and I didn't look at any of them, because then it just becomes overwhelming and you don't do it. So if you get that grounding, or find people on YouTube that you know and trust, that you're going to be able to get information that's in a way that is really broken down like it's a 10-year-old, so you don't feel stupid. It's dumbed down without making you feel dumb. And then where I agree is then you go and apply it. I don't care if it's to figure out your gym plan. I don't care what it is, but if you don't know anything, and there are groups of people that are like, I've heard of ChatGPT. I used it once. The answer was wrong. I'm never using it again. I'll wait till it's perfect, right? And then the other
100%.
ones that are like, getting Nobel Prizes because they figured out the alpha protein fold and now they're going to cure disease, right? So we have to. The technology is good in many ways, right? Clearly,
Yeah.
right? So it's not like it's not good, but get off the sidelines and try it in a low stakes, no stakes, where nothing
Yes.
bad can happen. You're not putting
Yes.
data in there. You're not, trying to diagnose your medical condition. Don't start
Yeah.
there.
Don't start there.
Where it is. And again, am I learning it for school? Am I learning it for my business? Am I learning it for my personal development? Because then you're also more likely to stick to it because there's actually a reason that you're choosing to learn it. And it is bespoke to what you care about. So, courses, if you need them, YouTube stuff, listening to things, if you feel that you can learn it better that way. And then put it into practice in small steps, and then you can build up to bigger things.
Yeah.
I love that idea, like what you said about cognitive overload. I would guess that that's probably one of the main reasons people are on the sidelines because we've had so much thrown at us in a short period of time.
Yeah.
So being able to narrow things down, like what am I going to use it for? And I love that approach of using it for something that is going to have a big impact, but using it in a low stakes way at first. I think that's the perfect approach.
Same. I have a use case it's just a story about a couple of bunnies going to the dollar store and buying jujubes. Every time a new tool comes out, I just do the same thing with it. And you can who cares if the story doesn't turn like it's dumb but it's entertaining and it's also a good benchmark. But yeah, do low stakes stuff and just kind of get used to it. I want to thank both of you. I want to thank the people who joined us in, live as well as after the fact. I can't wait to meet you both in person at the Create conference. I can't believe it's right around the corner. And everybody, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Thanks again for joining us. Appreciate everybody.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm going to end the stream and it just takes a second.